Imagine looking at yourself in the mirror 3 months from now and not recognizing the person staring back at you. A stronger, more confident, transformed version of yourself, the one you've always dreamed of becoming. What if I told you that you're only 90 days away from turning into someone completely new, someone others will admire and respect? This isn't magic or empty promises. It's about embracing habits and challenges that will push you to a level you never thought possible. Today is the day your journey begins, the journey to becoming unrecognizable. Friends, before we move forward, I want you to leave a comment saying, "Starting today, I live like a true Stoic." By writing it down, you're showing your commitment to this path of transformation and personal growth. This simple act will be your first step toward a new version of yourself. Let's take this journey together. Number 1, your comfort zone is a place we all know well. It's where we feel safe, protected, and at ease. But have you ever really thought about what it means to stay there? It's like being in a coffin. It limits you, traps you, and slowly dims your light. The worst part? Most of the time, we don't even realize we're stuck. We tell ourselves that we're safe there, that there are no risks, but the truth is, the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. Life is a constant process of change and evolution, and it's precisely this change that allows us to grow. Seeking new experiences, learning, and pushing beyond our limitations is what keeps us alive. Otherwise, we're just settling for being less than what we're capable of becoming. What's the point of living a life without challenges, without testing our limits? Every time you face something uncomfortable, you take a step forward toward the most powerful and complete version of yourself. Think about it for a moment. The times when you've grown the most, learned the most, weren't they the moments when you were outside your comfort zone, when you faced the unknown, when you forced yourself to do something that scared you? That's when you truly discovered what you're made of. The most valuable lessons in life aren't found in comfort. They're found in struggle, in pain, and in overcoming obstacles. Let's take exercise as an example. At first, lifting weights is uncomfortable, even painful. But it's precisely that pain that makes your muscles grow, strengthen, and become more resilient. If you keep lifting the same weight over and over, your muscles stop developing, they get used to it, and you stop progressing. The same happens with your mind, your skills, your relationships, every part of your life. Growth only happens when you dare to challenge your limits and step out of what's familiar. So how can you break out of your comfort zone? Start with small actions. You don't have to make a drastic change overnight. Begin by doing things that make you slightly uncomfortable every day. Take a different route to work, start a conversation with a stranger. Wake up an hour earlier than usual. These small steps will train you to handle discomfort. And before long, you'll realize you're capable of much more than you ever imagined. It's easy to stay where you are, to settle for what you have, to live a life without surprises. But the truth is, every day you spend in your comfort zone is a day wasted. Every day you choose comfort over growth is a day that pulls you further away from the person you were meant to be. Life is too short to be lived halfway. Greatness isn't found on the easy path. It's found on the road that few dare to walk. Stoicism teaches us that discomfort is part of the growth process, that pain and suffering aren't enemies, but teachers that reveal what we're truly made of. They push us to look within ourselves and find strength we never knew we had. So the next time you're tempted to stay in your comfort zone, remember that's the moment when you most need to move. Because every time you choose comfort over progress, you're robbing yourself of the chance to discover your full potential. Number 2, transforming complaints and laziness into action plans. Life is full of complaints. We complain about our jobs, our financial situation, our relationships, our health. The list goes on and on. But what's the point of complaining? Every time you complain, you're focusing on the problem instead of looking for a solution. Stoicism teaches us that wasting energy on what we can't change is pointless. But what about the things we can change? That's where action comes in. And that's where real transformation happens. Imagine that every complaint you have is actually a door leading to an opportunity for improvement. Every time you say, I'm tired of this job, I don't like my body, or I never have time for anything, what you're really facing is a sign that something in your life needs to change. But instead of letting those complaints pile up and become a burden you carry on your shoulders, you need to turn them into an action plan. The key is to transform those complaints into questions. Instead of saying, I never have time for anything, ask yourself, how can I organize my time better to focus on what truly matters? It's essential to document these complaints. Don't let them float around in your mind because that's where they grow into overwhelming monsters that stop you from moving forward. Write them down. Grab a notebook and start jotting down every complaint you have throughout the day. No filter. You'll soon notice that many of them are repetitive. And when you see them from an outside perspective, you'll start identifying patterns. Those patterns will reveal the areas of your life where you're stuck, and those areas will turn into opportunities for growth. Laziness often creeps in because we don't know where to start. We feel overwhelmed by the size of the changes we want to make, and we end up paralyzed. This is where setting clear goals and realistic deadlines becomes your most powerful tool. Break those goals into small steps. Don't think about running a marathon if you haven't even started walking yet. Focus on what you can do today, right at this moment. If your complaint is that you don't have time to work out, commit to doing 10 minutes of physical activity today. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Stoicism teaches us that action is what defines our lives. We are not what we think, we are what we do. So every time you catch yourself complaining about something, ask yourself, what can I do about this right now? Turn the complaint into a plan, and that plan into a daily habit. Because real change doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small, consistent actions that add up over time. It's easy to fall into the trap of laziness. We tell ourselves that we'll do it tomorrow, that now isn't the right time, that we're too tired. But the truth is, tomorrow doesn't exist. The only moment you have is the present. And every time you postpone action, you're losing the chance to get closer to the life you truly want. So stop waiting for the perfect moment and start acting right now. Because it doesn't matter how small the step is. What matters is that you take it. Next time you find yourself complaining, pause and take a deep breath. Recognize that you have the power to change the situation. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your reality. Choose to turn that complaint into a goal, into a clear objective, and commit to taking the first step, no matter how small. Because true power lies in action. Expectations are the root of misery. Expectations are traps we set for ourselves. When we create expectations about how things should be, how others should behave, or even how our own journey should unfold, we open the door to disappointment and suffering. The problem is that when our expectations aren't met, we feel frustrated, betrayed, and in the worst cases, miserable. It's as if we focus on what we think should happen instead of accepting and appreciating what actually is. How many times in life have you expected something from someone only for that person to fall short? Maybe you were hoping for a thank you, a kind word, or just for them to live up to the image you created in your mind. But whose fault is that really? It's not theirs. It's yours for placing on them the responsibility of fulfilling an expectation that only existed in your head. In that moment, you gave them the power over your happiness. Stoicism teaches us that the root of misery is precisely in these expectations we place on others and the world around us. But what happens when we direct those expectations toward ourselves? We set impossible standards, goals that, while not unachievable, are often packed with pressure and unrealistic demands. We tell ourselves we have to be perfect, that failure isn't an option, that we must always measure up. And when we don't reach those self imposed expectations, we feel like failures, as if we're not good enough. But who said life is about following a script we've written in our heads? Life is imperfect, and that is where its beauty lies. When we let go of expectations, we begin to experience life as it truly is. We free ourselves from the constant need for things to be a certain way, and we start appreciating what's right in front of us. Disappointments decrease because there's no longer a preconceived idea feeding them. We begin to see things clearly and accept that reality is constantly changing, that people are imperfect, and that we are too. It's in that moment of acceptance that we find true peace. I remember a time when I was expecting a promotion at work. I had worked harder than I thought possible, put in extra effort, and was certain I would get it, but it didn't happen. Instead of celebrating how much I had accomplished, I felt disappointed and bitter, as if all my hard work had been for nothing. That's when I realized that my suffering didn't come from not getting the promotion. It came from my expectations. Once I let go of them, I was able to clearly see how much I had grown, how much I had learned, and how far I had come, even without the external recognition I had been waiting for. The journey is what truly matters, not the destination. And when you allow yourself to appreciate every step, every mistake, and every small achievement, you begin to understand that the real wealth is in the process, not in the final result. Expectations blind you to the beauty of what you're experiencing in this very moment. It doesn't matter if you haven't reached where you wanted to be. What matters is that you're moving forward, learning, and growing. So what if you allowed yourself to just be without expecting everything to be perfect or to go exactly as planned? You would begin to experience a sense of freedom, a peace that only comes when you stop fighting against reality and learn to embrace it as it is. Stoicism reminds us that we can't control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond to it. By letting go of expectations, you free yourself from the burden of disappointment and allow yourself to enjoy the journey. It's not about settling, it's about understanding that life is a constant flow of experiences and that the only thing we truly own is the present moment. Friendships are not forever. Friendships are one of the greatest gifts in life, but they are also temporary. It's natural to think that the people who are by our side today will be there forever. But the truth is that everything in life has a cycle. Friendships evolve, change, and sometimes simply come to an end. This isn't something negative or a failure. It's just a natural part of life. Over time, priorities shift, experiences change us, and the connections we once had with certain people may fade. Sometimes we hold on to the idea that we must keep those friends in our lives at all costs, but doing so only causes us pain. Stoicism teaches us to accept impermanence, to understand that we cannot control how long someone stays in our lives. The only thing we can do is cherish the moments we share and let go when the time comes. I've experienced this reality in my own life. Friends I once thought would be there forever took different paths, and at the time, I felt sadness and frustration. But when I reflected on it, I realized that every friendship had a purpose, a moment, and a lesson to offer. Instead of mourning their departure, I chose to be grateful for what they brought into my life. I learned that every person who crosses our path leaves something behind, and that's what truly matters. Appreciating the impermanence of friendships allows you to live with gratitude. Instead of focusing on how long someone will stay, you focus on what you can share with them now. This mindset frees you from the need for control and lets you fully enjoy each experience, because in the end, the most valuable thing about a friendship isn't its duration. It's the quality of the moments you share. One of the most important lessons you can learn from this is how to become your own best friend. Too often, we look to others for validation, support, and love, things we should be giving to ourselves. When we depend on others to feel whole, we become vulnerable to disappointment. But if we learn to be at peace with ourselves, to enjoy our own company, and to be our own primary source of love and support, then no matter how many people come and go from our lives, we will always be okay. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means understanding that everyone has their own life, their own struggles, and their own path. Sometimes those paths align with ours for a while, and other times they go in different directions, and that's okay. The real challenge is learning to accept this process without resentment, without holding on, and without dwelling on what once was. When you understand that friendships aren't forever, you start living with a more open and grateful heart. You stop worrying about keeping people in your life and instead focus on how you can enrich each relationship while it lasts. And by doing so, you not only become a better friend to others, but also to yourself. Life is a journey, and throughout that journey, many people will come and go. Some will leave deep marks on your life, while others will simply pass through. The important thing to remember is that, in the end, the one person who will always be with you is yourself. Being your own best friend means being kind to yourself, accepting your mistakes, and enjoying your own company. Because ultimately, the longest lasting relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And that's the only one that truly needs to last forever. Developing the ability to let go is one of the hardest but most liberating lessons we can learn in life. We are constantly attached to things, people, emotions, and habits that, even when they don't bring us anything positive, seem to define us. We believe we need all of it to be happy, to feel complete. But the truth is, the things we struggle to let go of the most are often the very things holding us back. Letting go doesn't mean being indifferent or not caring about anything. It means freeing yourself from what no longer contributes to your growth. It's understanding that holding on to things or people doesn't change anything. It doesn't make them more yours or guarantee they'll be there forever. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in our ability to accept reality as it is, without clinging to what we cannot control. When we hold on to negative emotions like anger, resentment, or sadness, we become prisoners of our own suffering. We cling to these feelings because we believe they are part of who we are. But the truth is, they do not define us. Letting them go is an act of courage. It's telling ourselves that we deserve peace and that we refuse to carry a weight that no longer belongs to us. The same applies to habits that don't serve us. We get stuck in behaviors that we know aren't good for us simply because they feel comfortable. But that comfort is exactly what keeps us from growing. When we develop the ability to detach from negative habits, we make room to build new ones that truly strengthen us and push us toward becoming better versions of ourselves. It's in this moment that real change begins, a growth that comes from within. Detachment also means understanding that material things do not define our worth or our happiness. We spend so much of our lives chasing possessions, money, and recognition, believing that once we have them, we will finally be happy. But the problem is that this kind of happiness is temporary. We will always want more. Detachment teaches us to find satisfaction in what we already have, in who we already are, without depending on external factors to feel complete. It's not an easy process, and sometimes letting go can be painful, especially when we've been carrying certain things for so long. But it is precisely in that act of release that we discover our true strength. We learn that we don't need anything or anyone to be enough, that our peace and happiness do not depend on outside circumstances, but on how we choose to face life. By letting go of what no longer serves us, we create space for what truly matters. Detachment also helps us build resilience. When we are not attached to a specific outcome, when we don't tie our happiness to things happening exactly as we imagined, we become more adaptable, stronger. We learn to face adversity with calmness, to accept whatever comes our way, and to keep moving forward without being paralyzed by fear or uncertainty. Self-discipline is another aspect that strengthens through detachment. When we free ourselves from the constant need for approval, from satisfying superficial desires, and from clinging to things that do not benefit us, we become more focused and better equipped to make choices that truly push us forward. Life becomes lighter, clearer, and the path that once seemed confusing begins to reveal itself with greater clarity. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on everything or isolating yourself. It means becoming aware of what truly matters and stopping the waste of energy on what doesn't. It's an act of self-love, a commitment to our own happiness and well-being. It's understanding that true freedom isn't about having everything. It's about needing nothing to feel complete. Letting go of the habit of constantly complaining is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Complaining is a habit that consumes us, keeping us focused on the negative, on what we don't have, on what isn't working. It's like a dark cloud hanging over our lives, making us see the worst in every situation. But have you ever stopped to think about how much that habit is holding you back? How much time and energy you waste focusing on what's wrong instead of what you can change? Imagine what your life would be like if, for 6 months, you committed to not complaining, not even once. No more saying, I don't have enough money, my job is terrible, nobody understands me. Instead, every time you feel the urge to complain, find something positive, something to be grateful for. At first, it may seem difficult, almost impossible, but over time, you'll notice that your mind starts focusing on solutions instead of problems, on opportunities instead of limitations. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond to it. Complaining is giving up that control. It's allowing circumstances to dictate your mood, your happiness, and your well-being. But when you decide to stop complaining, you empower yourself, you take charge of your life, and you send a message to the world that no matter what happens, you choose how to react. The impact of this shift in perspective is profound. When you focus on the positive, when you stop feeding into complaints, you start seeing life differently. Challenges are no longer obstacles. They become opportunities to grow and learn. Difficulties turn into valuable lessons, and the little things you once overlooked suddenly become reasons for gratitude. You change your energy, and in doing so, you change the reality around you. The mind is incredibly powerful, and what you think and say has a direct impact on how you feel and how you navigate life. If you spend your day complaining, your brain gets used to that negativity and starts looking for more reasons to complain. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you stuck. But when you challenge yourself to stop complaining, to focus on what's going well and on what you can improve, you begin to break that cycle. I've seen how giving up complaints can transform lives. People who once saw themselves as victims of their circumstances, who thought nothing good ever happened to them, suddenly start seeing possibilities where before they only saw problems. It's not that life becomes perfect. It's that you change the way you approach it. And that is the true magic of Stoicism. Understanding that it's not about what happens to you, but about how you choose to interpret it. During these 6 months, I encourage you to keep a gratitude journal. Every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. At first, it might be hard to find them, especially if you're used to focusing on the negative. But over time, you'll realize that there is much more to be grateful for than you ever imagined. This simple act of gratitude will help keep your mind focused on the positive, break the habit of complaining, and create a new way of thinking. Life is too short to waste it complaining. Every day you spend complaining is a day lost, lost for growth, for learning, for appreciating everything you do have. So from today on, make a commitment to yourself. Stop complaining. Focus on what you can control, on what you can improve, and on everything good that surrounds you. Because when you choose to see the positive, when you stop feeding into negativity, you'll discover that life is so much richer, fuller, and more beautiful than you ever thought possible. Gratitude is one of the most powerful pillars for transforming our lives. When we learn to be grateful, we change the way we see the world, and in turn, the way we live. It's not just about being thankful for big accomplishments or obvious moments of happiness. It's about finding that spark of gratitude, even in the little details we often overlook. Because that's where the real magic of life exists. Every day is full of opportunities to feel grateful. Just waking up in the morning, feeling the sun on your skin, having hot water for a shower, or enjoying a meal, these are blessings we often take for granted. But when we take a moment to truly appreciate them, we begin to realize just how fortunate we are. Gratitude connects us to the present, grounds us in reality, and helps us value what we already have instead of always focusing on what we lack. Stoicism teaches us that it's not about what we have, but about how we appreciate it that determines our happiness. Gratitude is the tool that allows us to see the glass half full, even when circumstances aren't perfect. When we cultivate a grateful mindset, we let go of the habit of comparing ourselves to others, of wishing for what we don't have, and we start finding peace and satisfaction in what's already present in our lives. This doesn't mean we should stop striving for more. Rather, it means learning to enjoy the journey and valuing each step, no matter how small. A practical way to integrate gratitude into your daily routine is by starting a gratitude journal. Every night before bed, write down at least 3 things you were grateful for that day. At first, it may seem difficult, especially if you're not used to looking for the positive, but over time, your mind will start to naturally find those moments of gratitude, and you'll be surprised at how much there is to appreciate. It could be a message from a friend, the smell of your morning coffee, or even the fact that you made it through a tough day. Another effective practice is expressing your gratitude to others. Don't just feel it in silence, share it. Thank the people in your life. Tell them how much you appreciate their presence and how they have positively impacted your journey. By doing this, you're not only cultivating your own gratitude, but also creating an environment of appreciation and kindness around you. Gratitude has the power to strengthen our relationships, bring us closer to others, and build deeper, more meaningful connections. It's also essential to learn how to be grateful for challenges and difficulties. Sometimes the most painful experiences are the ones that teach us the most, that make us stronger, and that prepare us to face life with a new perspective. Being grateful for the lessons that come with difficult moments is an act of courage, and that's where the true essence of Stoicism is revealed. Because in the end, life is not about avoiding problems, but about finding the strength and wisdom to face them with gratitude. Gratitude transforms our reality because it shifts our focus. It teaches us that no matter how tough circumstances may be, there is always something to be grateful for. When we cultivate this habit, we let go of complaining and self-pity, replacing them with a mindset of responsibility and appreciation for life. And in doing so, we start living in a way that is more fulfilling, more mindful, and more connected to ourselves and the world around us. So from today on, I invite you to make gratitude a central pillar in your life. Start looking for the good, celebrating small victories, and recognizing the blessings you already have. Because when you practice gratitude, you realize that life, with all its imperfections, is an extraordinary gift, one that deserves to be appreciated in every moment. Sacrifice is essential. Sacrifice is an unavoidable part of the path toward anything that is truly worthwhile. In a world where we are constantly looking for shortcuts, quick fixes, and the easiest way forward, we often forget that the most valuable things in life require effort, dedication, and most importantly, the willingness to give something up. It is through sacrifice that we discover what we're truly made of, that we unlock our real potential, and that we get closer to the life we genuinely want. Stoicism teaches us that nothing truly valuable comes without a price. Every achievement, every goal reached involves giving something up. It could be time, energy, comfort, or even the sense of security that comes from staying in your comfort zone. But it is in that moment, when you let go, when you walk away from what's easy, that you find true fulfillment. Sacrifice is what builds the foundation of a life filled with purpose and authenticity. I remember a moment in my life when I had to make a decision that changed everything. I had a stable job, a good salary, and the comfort of a routine I knew inside out. But deep down, I felt like I wasn't living in alignment with my purpose, that I was settling for a life that didn't truly fulfill me. Making the decision to leave that security behind, to sacrifice what was comfortable in order to pursue what I really wanted, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it was also one of the most liberating. By letting go of what no longer served me, I created space for something much bigger and more meaningful. The reality is, you can't have it all. If you want to achieve your goals, if you want to become the best version of yourself, you will have to make sacrifices. You will have to give up temporary pleasures, distractions that pull you away from your purpose, and sometimes even people who don't share your vision. In the moment, it might feel like you're losing more than you're gaining, but in the long run, you realize that these sacrifices are what lead you to a life that is more fulfilling, more genuine, and more aligned with what truly matters to you. Stoicism encourages us to identify what fills us with purpose and meaning. Once you discover that, the sacrifices become clearer because you understand that it's not about losing something, but about investing in what is truly worth it. Every sacrifice, every moment of discomfort is a step forward, a reminder that you're on the right path. The truth is, we often cling to what's familiar because we fear change, we fear sacrifice. We tell ourselves that we can't let go of certain things, that we can't live without certain habits or comforts. But what if you realize that by staying in your comfort zone, you're actually sacrificing something far more valuable than what you'd gain by stepping out of it? At the end of the day, sacrifice is the price we pay for greatness. It's the conscious decision to let go of what no longer serves us in order to make room for what truly matters. And when you allow yourself to make those sacrifices, when you dare to face pain, discomfort, and uncertainty, you discover that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. Sacrifice is not a punishment. It's an act of self-love. It's the clearest sign that you are willing to do whatever it takes to build the life you truly want. Ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice to get there? Because in the end, sacrifice is what transforms aspirations into reality, allowing us to live with integrity and authenticity. Stop chasing love. Letting go of the need to chase love is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can make. So often we find ourselves desperately searching for someone to complete us, to make us feel worthy, as if someone else's love is the answer to all our insecurities and emptiness. But the truth is, love is not something you chase. It's something you attract when you live authentically, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself and cultivating your own happiness. The problem with chasing love is that in the process, we often lose ourselves. We become what we think others want us to be. We adapt, we mold ourselves, and we forget who we truly are. But real love, the kind that is truly worth having, can only find you when you are being genuine, when you show up as your true self with all your strengths and flaws, because it's in that authenticity that the beauty of a real connection exists. I remember a time in my life when I thought that if I didn't have someone by my side, then something was wrong with me. I went out, I searched, I tried to fit in, but all I got in return was feeling more alone and more lost. It wasn't until I stopped chasing love and started focusing on myself, on my dreams, my passions, that everything changed. I learned to enjoy my own company, to take pride in my achievements, and to realize that I didn't need anyone else to feel complete. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what others think, feel, or do. Love is not something you force, negotiate, or manipulate. It's a gift that comes when you least expect it, when you're focused on living your life in the most authentic way possible. Instead of spending your energy chasing something external, invest that time in knowing yourself, in growing, in developing your talents, and in living with purpose. When you stop chasing love, you start seeing that life has so much more to offer. You begin to appreciate the little things, to enjoy moments of solitude, and to build a life that makes you happy on your own. And it's precisely in that state of fulfillment, in that space where you no longer need anyone to feel good, that real love has the chance to find you. Because the purest love comes when two people who are already complete choose to share their lives, not because they need each other, but because they want to. Letting go of the chase doesn't mean closing yourself off or becoming indifferent. On the contrary, it means you are open to love, but you don't depend on it to be happy. It's a shift in mindset, a conscious decision not to place your worth in someone else's hands. When you allow yourself to be happy on your own, when you find joy in your own growth, the love that comes into your life is much more pure, much more real. Love is not the goal, it's the result of living authentically and staying true to who you are. By stopping the chase, you give yourself the chance to build a life filled with meaning, a life that naturally attracts the right people, those who truly value you for who you are. Because in the end, the love that is worth it is not the one you search for, but the one that finds you when you're busy loving yourself. The majority is often wrong. We live in a world where we follow trends, where we feel comfortable being part of the crowd because we believe there's safety in numbers. But if we stop and think about how many times history has proven that the majority was wrong, we realize that simply following what everyone else is doing is no guarantee of truth or success. Think about moments in history, like when most people believed the earth was flat, an idea accepted by the majority for centuries. It took a few brave individuals willing to challenge popular opinion to question that belief and push humanity forward. Another example is Galileo, who claimed that the earth revolved around the sun and not the other way around. He was persecuted and condemned by the majority, who couldn't accept an idea that contradicted their deeply held beliefs. But in the end, the truth prevailed. These examples show us that just because many people believe something doesn't mean it's true. Stoicism encourages us to think critically, to not just go along with the crowd, and to question what is presented to us as truth. It's easy to feel comfortable following what everyone else is doing because it gives us a sense of belonging. But comfort is not the same as truth, and often what is popular is the least useful for our personal growth. We must learn to question, to challenge social norms, and to not settle just because everyone else is doing it. When we let the majority dictate how we should think, act, or live, we give up our power, our ability to decide for ourselves. We become puppets of other people's opinions and expectations. But true freedom lies in our ability to seek our own truth, to think for ourselves, and to not be afraid of being different. Because being different doesn't mean being wrong. More often than not, it means being on the right path. I've seen in my own life how following the majority's opinion led me to make choices that weren't aligned with who I truly am. I did things because everyone around me was doing them. I accepted beliefs because they were expected, and I settled for less because it seemed normal. But the moment I started questioning, challenging what was expected of me, and searching for my own truth, I experienced a kind of freedom I had never known before. I started living according to my values, making decisions based on what truly mattered to me, rather than what others thought I should do. This journey isn't easy. It means facing criticism, going against the grain, and being misunderstood. But it's precisely in that search that we find our true selves, that we discover what really matters, and that we grow as individuals. It's not about being rebellious for the sake of it. It's about being authentic, about living according to what we truly believe, not what we're told to believe. The majority will always choose what is easiest, what gives them a sense of safety and conformity. But if you want to live a life that truly has meaning, you must be willing to challenge that comfort, to question what the majority blindly accepts, and to seek your own truth. Because in the end, what defines your life is not what others believe, it's what you choose to believe and how you choose to live. History has shown that the majority can be wrong. Don't be afraid to be the voice that questions, seeks, and challenges. Thinking for yourself is how you find truth and create the life you truly want. Patience is power. In a world of instant gratification, we forget that real success takes time. The greatest achievements in history weren't built overnight. They required years of effort, failures, and perseverance. Patience allows us to keep moving forward even when results aren't immediate. Every step, no matter how small, brings us closer to our goals. Instead of rushing, pause and ask yourself, why am I in such a hurry? Most of the time, urgency is just anxiety. Learn to enjoy the process. Focus on progress, not perfection. When stuck in traffic, use the time to reflect or listen to something inspiring. Challenges aren't obstacles, they're opportunities for growth. What is built with patience is built to last. Detachment leads to freedom. Society tells us we need more possessions, more validation, more security. But the more we cling to things or emotions, the more we become trapped by them. For the next 90 days, let go of something, an object, a habit, or even resentment. You'll realize that true power isn't in what you own, but in your ability to let go and move forward. Emotions don't define you. Observe them without letting them control you. Real strength comes from knowing you are enough, just as you are. Take control. Stop waiting. Start living. If you're ready for this challenge, comment. Starting today, I live like a true stoic. See you in the next video. Ue Force.